right in if you can. So there is a little bathroom just in there. There is a little bathroom just in there, obviously, so if anyone wants to go and sort of wash their hands whilst they're waiting for one to they can. So before we go through a stage, if everyone can hear me just coming down up the stairs, you'll notice that backstage we have a lot of signage. A lot. And just in here, this is dressing room, well, letter B. If you want to have a little look in there, you're absolutely welcome to. If you want to have a poke about. So this is a different kind of dressing room. Again, still very functional. These offices are close to the stage, so actually we do use them more as offices rather than dressing rooms. So when a show comes, they will have a company manager on the way round. Sorry. If you want to come on. Hi, glamorous assistants have arrived.
My mate took us tours and he said the Opera House has got some of the worst dressing rooms in the country.
I mean, would be drastically offended, but I also understand where it's coming from. So yes, that's everybody now, isn't it? Yes, if you want to take any photographs, you absolutely can. We've got a show at the moment. Welcome to the Opera House stage. What do you reckon? Alice, if you've never been to the Palace before, what's your reaction? Quite.
It's alright, it's good size.
So it's good size. Yeah. It's also quite industrial. Don't be shy. We won't be offended. This is what it looks like when there's not a show in. You're very lucky, and I always say this to people when we have not got a show in. This is our actual stage floor. You're welcome. Very few people get to look at our actual stage floor because when a production company comes in, they will unpack all of the trucks that arrive with all of the bits and pieces of the show on, including the floor. So you'll be familiar if you've seen a show here or even up at the road at the Palace, that you don't just have a normal black floor, it gets built in, and that's because shows need various electrical equipment to run underneath there. They might have tracks that set needs to come in on, and we can't be digging up our floor every single time that we get a different structure in. What it is that you do here, and why your jobs are really important, please.
After me. I tend to facilitate, like Chris saying, we're a touring venue, so we don't really do too much ourselves. I sort of facilitate their electrics as they come in the building, the lighting and the sound. We'll provide the power and as much as we can for them, but touring shows do tend to bring everything with them. We're lucky enough to be able to have a play when we have one-nighters, so we can put our own lights up, use our own system. But we are, like I say, we are a touring venue, so it's a glorified facilities manager, effectively, for the electrics in the building. And Dean, a little more on the stage side.
Yeah, I do more the stage side, so I'm in charge of looking after. But we both look after shows coming in, so we facilitate all that. Chris doesn't talk himself up and knows he's more of a wizard of Alexa and sound who can make a show look very pretty. When it doesn't look very pretty, we get a lot of shows coming very bog standard. Chris puts a few lights out and it makes it look an amazing show. Very pretty, so you need to tie yourself up. So Chris is very good, and don't listen to him because he's not talking himself up enough. So we deal with the flying system a lot, so the show comes in. We've got 54 bars up ahead, so they use them. So all the lights go on there, the scenery goes in there, any flying overheads go in there. So then we have to operate that on the fly floor, which we may be able to take you up later on the show if you want.
Yeah, that's
so we
great.
can show you that. So we'll talk about that a bit later on then. We don't have any staging. We have some steel decks, some rosters that you can borrow. So everything that comes in, we have to bring it in through that little door up there, from the street where you give a stage door, and we have to push it around on cases and stuff like that. So it's fun. And we're always looking for volunteers. So, apart from that, hang on, should we take this out? It's not proper just yet.
Maybe let's have a bit of a show, that would be quite nice. So yeah, just while Dean is sorting the iron, so we have, again, 54 bars that are linked to those, so when we're talking about the flying system, which we'll go into a bit more detail, that's all linked to those lines over there. Lines is just our word for big ropes. You'll notice across the tier that we're talking about random things that have different terms in the theatre than they do just in everyday. We just like to be confusing and contrary sometimes, but a lot of the terminology comes from when we used to work with a lot of sailors. In the past, we needed lots of people who were aware of ropes and knots and pulleys and things like that, and the two things really go hand in hand. So actually a lot of our backstage crew over 100 years ago would have had a sailing background, but again, all of those bars are connected to a weight system on there, which we'll talk about. But now Dean is going to do something really exciting, so if you want to get your cameras ready, it's quite nice.
This is our safety fire curtain.
Stage in the auditorium. This view you don't really get unless you're doing a rehearsal. Even when you're on stage, a lot of the lights shine in your eyes, you can only see the first few rows. But this is the glorious auditorium at the Opera House. It's not a bad
It's beautiful, isn't it? Are you just based here? You don't
Yes.
get involved with the palace?
Well, we do every now and then. If they need an extra hand down there, we'll go down.
Talk to me. It's been very, very dramatic. Capacity is around 1,957, depending on, well, I change the number slightly every single time. But around about 2,000, it really does depend on if you want to just hang fire, don't go right to the end because you haven't got the line across. So for insurance purposes, can't let you go too far. But if you can see just at the back of the stalls, there's a little black box there. So that is the sound, well, it would be where the sound desk would go. And depending on how big the show is, we would have that bigger or smaller. We can take out some seats that make a bit of a difference.
Come through many steps. So this is the flyloft. You can spread out along here.
Also, if anyone needs to use the facilities and they like to use these ones, just remembered.
So this is what the flies people will look at on stage from the screen. So this is our flies monitor, it's not TV, it's a monitor.
We don't get Sky.
We don't get Sky.
So it's just a live picture, is it?
Just a live picture of what we've got on stage yet. So we've got a front of house camera that's fixed on stage. So when we're flying anything, we do have a view. Sometimes we're flying in the dark, so we can't really see anything. There is an infrared monitor, but we haven't been able to do dual screen on this yet. So we do rely on people on the desk, on the deck, on the DSM, to call the show, to be aware of what's going on. Because we're here, sometimes it's hard to look at that because you're trying to fly whilst looking for your deads as well, so you're not hitting the stage or so you're hitting your marks on time as well. So yes, this is the fly floor.
So is that all manual?
All manual. It can be automatic. There has been times where we've had automatic flies, a mixture of both. So this metal frame that you see here was put in for Back to the Future. And then all along the top there we had, I think there was 12 motors, because some of the stuff was so heavy, it couldn't manual. So we had to adapt some of our stuff, take bars out, attach different cradles, and then it was all automatic, but we did have manual flying as well. But as much as you've got automation, you still need to do the manual flies. Automation is not that better. If you ever go to Leeds Ground, they've got an automated fly floor. You still need to climbing, you need a spotter and an operator on stage. So a black box is a standard set for all-nighters, what we call a black box set, so all our legs and borders come in. So just to make the stage look a bit smaller, we'll start bringing the legs in. Heads on stage, legs coming in. So if you look at the screen, and please mind your heads above the rail because the bars do lean over a bit. So you see, I'm looking from the red mark, looking at the screen. Brake goes on. And these brakes can hold up to 100 kg.
So like, you're music, playing guitar right now.
Oh. So sorry about this if you're coming on the palace just because I bring these bits out every time. Is that everybody?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm not sure whether. About 2 areas that you can try out different seats that you don't normally sit in. So if you are not like yourself, if you've never sat in the front row of the dress circle, then quite happy for you to do so now. So if you want to come across here, and we're very, very, very close. Yes.
May I pick up the loo?
Yes. Just through there.
Well, you can tell them seats are never sold, can't you? Them first two. They're like,
Yeah, it's not great there. So if you look at that one, but not traditionally seats. Yeah, so we have to price there. The reason being, if you want to take a seat, we'll be here for the next 10 minutes, so we'll have a little stage. Trick yourself. Yes, so you can go through there, just the accessible point just there, the easiest one there, just there. So we'll be here for the next 10 if that's alright, and just excuse various the boxes. So I mean here, people always ask, where are the most expensive seats to sit? And I mean here is pretty expensive, not gonna lie. So the next row behind is also expensive, just because some people don't really like sitting directly in the front. So we'd have this row and the next row. Downstairs in the stalls, obviously you've got the front row. The front row is actually not the most expensive. A few rows back is, just because a lot of people don't like being right on top of the stage. If you're me, you feel like a little bit like you're going to be able to join in from that close to the stage, and I'd rather not as an audience member. Yeah, not get very shy. Audience participation, no one believes me when I said that I'm shy, and everyone's like, absolutely get away, and I'm like, really am. Don't look at me, I've not signed up for this. So yeah, so this is a really lovely view, obviously. You can see very, very clearly onto the stage. If you're sat over there, apologies, it's a little bit restricted towards the side, but you can see most of the stage from here. So again, we're thinking about attitudes for audiences today are very different to audiences in 1912. We, and if you may, basically, very, very interested in getting the best seat for the least amount of money, which is very fair, obviously. Times are tough. If you want to come, oh, there you are, I was going to ask if you wanted to come across here. So we're very interested in saying, right, where can I get the best view and what's not going to cost me an arm and a leg? So it depends on the show, the answer really. A lot of questions we get asked are, why is A22 £50 for Mrs. Doubtfire and why is it 25 for something like a one-night show or for Buddy Holly? And the answer is cost, really. We can just say to the production, this is how much it's going to sell for really in Manchester, this is how much our audiences are prepared to pay for something like this, but also versus them, what it costs them to tour, so that's why it's a little bit more flexible. A lot more goes into it than sort of what I'm saying, but that's kind of the gist really, it just depends. But yeah, the view is obviously still the same. But I mean, even from the back circle, you're still really, really close to the stage. So it's a really excellent view, pretty much from anywhere in the opera house, honestly. As long as you're not towards the very, very sides. How is everyone feeling? Just got to go down to come back up. Hello. Now it's quite dark in here, so just watch yourselves if you have a bit of a change in the light. This should be a bit more familiar. This view, so we've been sort of front stage door, back to stage, upstairs to the fly floor, now no auditorium, and then now this is the foyer. And I will let you out of these doors in a second, no worries. So, this is the foyer, and you will notice, especially, well, if you've never been to the Opera House before, it's really, really obvious just how narrow the building is, really, when we're thinking about, oh my god, how can we accommodate nearly 2,000 people in the auditorium? It's because we have sacrificed quite a bit of front of house space, so we are literally on the street into the foyer. Box office is just there. If you're very fortunate to have a press ticket, you might be coming to this window on one of the nights as well. But yeah, so we don't have a lot waiting around. Just watch your step on these. Hello, Rachel. Hello, I'm just opening the kitchen bar for 2 seconds. Right. I'm just going to let one of our number decrease.
cheap seats.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty ominous, that, didn't it? When I just opened the door and I was like, bit like Lurch. So you come through here, so this is up to the gallery. Right, before we go up, if anyone feels queasy, needs to stop on the stairs for 2 seconds to breathe, I will not be judgmental. Normally it's just nice to rest. So, I know. Don't do it, okay? So we got to the top. Before we get to the top, I just wanted to point out that actually we have a bit of posterage on the walls. You should already be noticing the fact that it's slightly less glam than it is downstairs. But I did want to point out as you walk up, do take a look at the posters. This way of advertising shows is very modern in the sense that nowadays we don't really care about the writing on the posters. We just care about the picture, and just to make it feel a little bit more pleasing. Look how close we are to the screen. So if anyone would like to take a seat, you're very, very welcome after all of those stairs. I would probably suggest not diving like a mountain goat to the bottom. No. Pick along here. What do you think? Is it as horrible as you thought it was going to be? Is my big question.
Not a bad idea, actually, is it?
No.
The trick is by taking up here, that's all it can show. Look at it, please.
I mean, speaking from a true, I go to the theatre a lot. Yeah, so if you want to learn how to see, I mean, come on. I think you can see pretty alright from here, honestly. A lot of people have said you can be nervous that I thought it was going to be but
Could you just nip down and stand on the stage so that we can see
imagine, I'd be like, Dean comes back out, I'll just leap from here, I think I'll make it probably.
Yeah, just go on then, the chairs.
Yeah, just go on.